I think that's one of the biggest things, is people mistake things. When they say someone's a false prophet or a false preacher, whatever the case may be, they think it's because they got something wrong. And that's not the case. I don't know of anybody, Sheila, walking the face of the earth right now that's 100% accuracy. I mean, they may be out there. I've never seen them.
Yeah.
It has to do with the character of that person. It's you judge a prophet by his fruit, and that's where people make the mistake of saying, oh, the Bible says you get one thing wrong, you're a false prophet. Well, I don't know where it says that, because it talks about the fruit of the prophet. Look at his family. Is his family life in a disarray, or is his kids running around like crazy, promiscuous, or whatever the case may be? It's the character of that person that makes them a false prophet, not if they miss something. You're going to miss stuff from time to time. And, by the way, I hate to tell people this, it is biblical. God can change his mind. It is biblical. And, yes, sometimes someone can prophesy something, and God can change his mind.
Well, and the thing is, it's all in God's timing when these things come to pass. It could take weeks, months, even years for a prophecy to come in effect.
Right, and we still have prophecies in the Bible that haven't come to pass. They were written over 2,000 years ago, and I don't hear anybody calling them false prophets. Well, we live in this microwave society where they got to have it right now. It's like, if it doesn't come to pass in 24 hours, it's like, forget it, man. You're out.
Well, there was a lot of things that got exposed in 2017. And I just personally believe in my gut. I just have discernment that it's kind of like, boy, we ain't seen nothing yet. And I really think 2018, God is really going to pull back the curtain. What do you see coming in February? Because already, wow, look, it's already happened in January, and we're not even at the end of the month.
Yeah, I've got some friends in the military, and they have said that they were told to be on full alert in the month of February. Now, normally there's a process they go through where they get shots and stuff like that before they're deployed. They haven't done any of that, which tells them it's on the homeland. So, it could be very well be that this thing with the indictments, and what are we up to now? Like 9,200 was the last count that I saw. So, when he said that this is the calm before the storm, it wasn't Korea. It was this stuff. And so all this stuff I've been talking about for about the last year and a half, even on TV shows, I've been saying, hey, look, this third objective is going to be when they start handing out the actual arrest warrants, when they start actually arresting these people, there could be some civil unrest in places. It's our job as the Army of God to go in and blaze a trail spiritually so that it doesn't manifest in the natural. So we started that about a year and a half ago, praying for this so that we could mitigate this civil unrest. Now, here's the interesting part, Sheila, is that when they start arresting these people like Obama and Hillary, and by the way, they will go to jail, they will be arrested, you may see some upheaval in some areas. Now, here's the staggering thing. I had prophesied about the 5 Supreme Court justices, and I had said one would die, one would retire, 3 would be caught in a scandal. Well, it never dawned on me. Literally, never even dawned on me. I was in the bed like 2 or 3 weeks ago, and as I was waking up, I heard the Lord say, what if these 3 Supreme Court justices are part of the indictments? I went, oh my gosh, I didn't even put 2 and 2 together. It didn't even dawn on me that they could be part of these indictments. Now, let's put the other 9,000 indictments aside for a minute. What do you think would happen? And just say they don't even exist. What do you think would happen if we removed 3 Supreme Court justices from the bench through indictments in this country?
Wow.
It's not going to be pretty. So this is why we have to be praying right now. There's a good possibility that could happen through this entire process at some point. So, again, we have to be praying. I think the next probably starting in February is when a lot of this stuff is going to start, and it's going to be fast and furious. It really is. But this is all good stuff. That's what I want people to understand. It has to happen. God is purging the land of the darkness so that the light can follow. So all this stuff has to happen. So it's not a time to operate in fear. God's in this thing. God is the one cleaning up this mess, not Donald Trump. This is not Donald Trump's agenda. This is heaven's agenda. So stop blaming Donald Trump for a lot of this stuff. This is God's agenda, and he's going to clean up the darkness so that the light can follow. The judges is the other big thing that you're going to see, I think, removed. You haven't been hearing it in the mainstream media, but the president has been replacing judges at a pretty fast rate, and you haven't been hearing about it. And some of these corrupt judges, I believe you'll see some indictments come down. You're going to see congressmen, women, senators at the local, state, and federal lines. Whether it's human trafficking, the pedophilia, the child sacrifice, whatever the case may be, you're going to see all this stuff come to light. You've had Craig Sawyer on there. I love that guy and what he's doing, exposing this stuff and taking these guys down. You're going to see all this stuff start to come out, and it's going to blow your mind as to who is involved in this mess.
Hey, speaking of messes, what's up with California? Just this morning, the federal government asks prosecutors to examine ways criminal charges can be brought against leaders of sanctuary cities, providing this safe haven for this flood of illegal immigrants. It's kind of unclear how the new policy would affect states like California. Boy, California's in a mess. You look at the highest poverty rates in the country. Yeah, and it's not Mississippi, New Mexico, or West Virginia, folks. It's California, where a new report is saying that 1 out of every 4 residents is poor. A friend of mine had a prophetic dream about a big earthquake that cracked California right in half. You look at the voter fraud, you look at the abortion rates, you look at the funding for Planned Parenthood. Well, Hollywood is in California. You look at this sanctuary city where it's bringing in people for the votes. Illegal, I might add. Boy, what a cesspool it is.
Yeah, it is. That's why you're seeing California in such a mess right now, is because they know the day California goes red, it's over with for them. And I was very close to prophesying, Sheila, for the first time that California was going to go red. I'm not so sure it didn't go red because the voter fraud is so bad in this country right now, which is what we have to be praying about right now, because we have to go back to paper ballots. You know, George Soros owns a lot of the computer software for the voting machines, all this stuff. We have to go back to paper ballots so that we can have some accountability. The voter fraud, I'll give you another instance. Florida is the next one that's really on the hit list right now. They are bringing in 500,000 to 1 million Puerto Ricans from Puerto Rico, disguising it as a humanitarian effort when, in fact, it is not.
Right.
It is to simply bring in the votes. And now what I'm hearing from people who live in Puerto Rico, they're saying they're actually bringing in Mexicans as well and registering them as Puerto Ricans. So, I mean, you've got all kinds of scams going on right now because, again, the enemy's pulling out every weapon of their warfare. They're scared to death. Now, the other thing I want to put out there is that if you are called to be a senator, a congressman, a judge, whatever the case may be at the local, state, or federal levels, and you're in the Army of God, you need to get ready to take your place because there's fixing to be a ton of job openings. I was just contacted by a federal judge who will remain nameless, and this person told me that the Lord told them that they were to run for the state Supreme Court. And I prayed with this individual that God would open the door because that's what we need. We need godly men and women to step up to the plate and take their rightful place of what they've been chosen to do in these positions of leadership right now.
Well, there's a whole lot of people that profess to be Christians in political leadership. Were you surprised that Marco Rubio interfered in the Florida Republican race to sabotage the pro-Trump candidate?
Absolutely not. I even put it on my Facebook page. I said a long time ago that this guy was not to be trusted.
Yeah.
He is a wolf in sheep's clothing. This guy was a part of originally the Gang of Eight. I'm not so sure he's even supposed to be in office, to be honest with you, Sheila, because this is the other thing that God's been dealing with me on this voter fraud thing, is that this is how they're locking up these blue states and blue zones. The Lord says, Mark, there's not as many blue states and blue zones as you think there is. He says they're keeping these places locked down through the voter fraud. Most of these people that have been in Congress for 30 or 40 years aren't supposed to be there. They're locking it down through the voter fraud. And this is why I say going back to paper ballot is a huge issue, is because Larry Nichols and his spiritual advisory team, Larry had found out through the grapevine that Hillary Clinton had locked up 3 states. She didn't go visit these states during the election. She already had them rigged for her. They went on a spiritual battle, basically, and they blitzed those 4 states, telling people, don't vote by machine, vote by paper ballot. When they did that, they won those 4 states for Trump. And guess which 4 states those were? The 4 states that Jill Stein called for a recount on. And nobody could figure out why she was calling for a recount. That's why, is because they had them rigged for Hillary, and they were absolutely just lambasted. They couldn't figure out how they lost these states. And it was through Larry Nichols and his spiritual advisory team going out there and blitzing, telling people, vote by paper ballot.
Well, whenever you have somebody pushing that hard for a recount, something stinks, right?
Yeah, exactly. It has to be exposed. It has to be dealt with, guys, and we got to be praying for this, especially before the midterms, because I honestly believe you're going to see this is going to be one of the biggest turnovers in midterm history of the United States. 1, because of the removal of people through indictments. 2, because they're going to be voted out of office because people are sick and tired of them. Now, you're seeing people resign all of a sudden. Don't you find this kind of interesting, Sheila? All these people resigning, saying they're not going to run again?
Yeah.
Why is that? That's because they know the guillotine's fixing to fall. So, I mean, these people like Jerry Brown and Maxine Waters and all these people, I think California, now this is just what I'm sensing. I'm sensing that California will have another chance to redeem itself, the people out there, through this indictment process. When they start rounding up these people like Jerry Brown and Maxine Waters, I think they're going to have an opportunity to vote the right people in, but they've got to deal with the voter fraud, because if they don't, it's not going to work.
I noticed these impeachment stories are still in the headlines this morning. As I mentioned earlier in the show, CNN, Trump's going to have a heart attack. CNN's Jake Tapper actually reported that, this big scandal with the word beep hole, Trump did not specifically use that word. That's what Jake Tapper on CNN said with regard to Haiti, but rather, it was with regard to countries in Africa. Trump's denying that he said it, saying he should actually start recording some of these meetings. And now again, there's another headline, Trump's remarks spur international anger. The Guardian says Trump's a racist. There's no other word. And CNN saying nobody should believe Trump's denial about it. If these places aren't crap holes, though, and this is my question, if these countries are so great, why are they trying to flood into the United States? Why don't they just stay there if they're so great?
Yeah, he's just telling it like it is, and here's the other thing too, Sheila, and again, here's where the evangelicals get a little bit gullible sometimes, is that they listen to everything that comes across the mainstream media, and that's why I keep harping on people, stop listening to the mainstream media. You're not getting the truth. Go to the president's Twitter feed and Facebook page. You'll get the truth straight from the source. You got people like yourself or like Greg Hunter who don't put anything out until they vet it.
Yeah.
That's the big thing, and it's getting harder and harder in today's technological age, to vet stuff. I mean, people like yourself and experienced investigative reporters like Greg will even tell you it's getting harder and harder to vet stuff. But, stop listening to that mess. I keep getting emails, again, from people, hey, Mark, watch this YouTube video. This guy says this, this, and this. And it's like, stop listening to that mess. Listen to the right sources, folks, because this stuff is filling your mind and your spirit full of garbage. And it's literally clouding your perception, and it's literally killing your ability to hear the voice of God accurately.
Now, I just want to touch base on that because a lot of people, commented when that was made. And I think a lot of people go, so we should never watch YouTube. I mean, you can't just hang on every word a person says. Put it in common sense, Mark. What we're saying, folks, and we want to make this clear, not to never watch social media. Of course, that's ridiculous. We want you to be apprised at what's going on, but it's just a steady inundation of doom and gloom. So get into the Word of God. Quit spending so much time on YouTube and God knows what, all this litany of social media. Be balanced and don't just fire something on Facebook that turns out to be a false story, but meanwhile, 5,000 people have circulated it, right, Mark?
Right, exactly. That's perfect, yes. And the thing is stop listening to every Tom, Dick, and Harry on YouTube. You don't know who these people are. They could be passing on false information. You don't know what experience these people have. Pick 2 or 3 legitimate sources, or 4 or 5 legitimate sources where you're getting your information from, if you will, and then turn it off. How about getting revelation? Turn the technology off. Get revelation from your Heavenly Father about what's true and what's not true. Exercising your discernment. That's the thing. We're not telling you not to be informed, but get it from the right sources. It's got to be vetted. It's got to be truthful.
I really find, though, the truth hurts. People say they want the truth, but truth is a hard pill to swallow. People get very offended. I always have people that are upset with things people say on my show or things that I say. You can't say that. You shouldn't say this. Everybody knows I'm a post-trib person. A lot of people get very turned off by that. I definitely believe that God has a plan for Israel, but a lot of people mistake my stance on Israel because of the fact that I cover the Kabbalah. So they automatically just think I'm anti-Semitic. When a person has boldness and you're speaking out, you just really upset the demons too, I think. So a lot of times what happens is you just get relegated to the depths of the damned. And I know you're out there all over the place. I mean, you're certainly bold, not surprising as a firefighter that was willing to run into a burning building with impending death. But then a lot of people want us to pray for them. A lot of people invite us to things. They ask for advice. They email us. They phone us. They contact us on social media. People want interviews or they want advice or they want prayer. Do you ever just feel like you're getting pushed and pulled all over the place?
Yeah, I'm getting pulled in about 1,000 different directions between interviews, the book, prophetic words. I get constantly emails. People bombard me on Facebook, and I'm by myself. I don't have a team. I'm not like most ministries. I'm by myself right now, and I'm trying to handle all this. Honestly, it gets overwhelming at times, and it's the stuff that I can't deal with, like the negativity. Hey, we're fixing to get missiles fired at us, or hey, watch this guy on YouTube. He says this is about to happen. I'm like, really? No, I don't have that kind of time. Shut that stuff off. It's the doom and gloom stuff. It's Satan's frequency, like we talked about on your past shows. Turn Satan's frequency off. Tune into heaven's frequency. But yeah, I mean, you get pulled in 1,000 different directions, and it does get overwhelming at times.
Well, speaking of being tuned into Satan's frequency, it's not that you can't be informed. It's just this steady diet of all these fake news headlines and all these doom and gloom scenarios where, we're going to get wiped off the map. We're going to have an EMP, the nuclear threat. Every 5 minutes, we're told some other doom and gloom scenario. If Al Gore's not telling us we're all going to be underwater by next week. It's just, there's so many headlines of the doom and gloom. Where is the balance between, Mark, being informed and not letting this litany, this barrage of information really affect you? Because you cannot be plugged into doom and gloom 24/7 without having it affect you. Get real.
Right, and again, I think what happens is like they'll start listening to the doom and gloom, and you have to be very careful. We're not saying not be informed, because you got to know what to pray for. You got to know what the enemy's doing in order to pray for. But again, it has to be vetted. It has to be truthful stuff. So, but the problem, Sheila, is people go overboard with the doom and gloom to the point where they become addicted to it, and it's a known fact. And we've said this on the show before. When you are addicted to Satan's frequency, it can damage your body organs. It's that frequency which this stuff's being projected at. It creates fear, paranoia, panic, and it literally will change your DNA. It's a scientific fact, knowing that these frequencies can change your DNA. And what the Lord showed me was that when you give someone good news and they can't receive it, that's how you know your DNA has been handed over to the enemy. So that's a very dangerous place to be. Now, you can change that, because I get emails from people that have heard me talk about this, and they've been open and honest. Say, Mark, I heard your message. I turned the doom and gloom off. I feel 10 times better now, and I feel like I can hear the voice of the Lord more, flooding myself with good news. I'm just going to like Fox's website. I'll read the headlines, and that's it, type thing. It works. You can change it. You can turn it around.